Alrighty, everyone. Huge movie fanatic Nate stopping on by once again, being joined by Will Powell from the UK. This time we're here to talk about what movie, Will?
That would be The Empire Strikes Back,
And from what I understand,
Episode 5.
you hold this movie in pretty high regards.
Yeah, like when people say, "What's your favorite film?" It's usually Empire or Jaws. I kind of, it's a draw, for
So,
me.
well, very cool. We've already, just for those who may not know, listening to this recording, we've already heard Will's and also mine's thought on Jaws. If you wanted to head over to that discussion to check that out. Honestly, this will be interesting for me because I'm a little bit in the minority in this position. I don't. For me, this isn't my favorite Star Wars film of the original trilogy. My favorite one of the original trilogy is the first film, which is basically known as Episode 4 these days. That's my favorite film of
Yeah,
the original trilogy. So I'm not gonna attack you or anything for your thoughts on this film. I mean, obviously, I like Empire Strikes Back, but for me, it'll be really interesting to hear, why it's your favorite of the. I'm assuming it's your favorite Star Wars film.
well, yeah, that, yeah, by a long way. I mean, I feel like as I've gotten a bit older, Star Wars has kind of left my life, but apart from this film, so I kind of feel this one. I don't know, stands alone for me. This one out of the bunch, which
Int-
is, I'm
Interesting.
not saying I'd go on.
So you growing up, what were the primary Star Wars films? So when you were growing up, was it just the original trilogy, or it was a mix of that, including the prequels, or?
Well, I'm glad because I was born in 1991, so I grew up. I had a neighbour, a friend, who was the same age, and he had the VHS of the original three. This is before the special editions came out, so it's probably 96, something like that. When I saw him, 97, maybe. Maybe the special editions had already come out, but I hadn't seen them. But I had seen the original three on videotape, and I, for some reason, I think I've seen Return of the Jedi first, and then Empire, which is strange. I think when you're a kid, you just, I don't know, it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, that's my earliest memories of them.
That's very cool. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I know for sure that I saw Return of the Jedi at a second run theater with my dad. I can remember being young enough where those shots of Vader and the Star Destroyer looking out into space. I always thought his head was a big, huge head in space. It didn't really make sense to me. Those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts of seeing
Yeah,
seeing Jedi in a second run theater in the first in its initial run, but I remember really liking like the walkers on the Endor planet, those two-legged walkers and stuff like that. And
yeah.
so I probably didn't see the first two films, episode 4 and 5 respectively until later on home video. So I probably saw Return of the Jedi first as well.
And that seems to be the case with a lot of kids. For some, I think that's, I don't know. That seems the gateway one in for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I've listened to a few podcasts about Star Wars, and a lot of people, that is their first one they've seen. But it wasn't for any particular reason. I don't know if I just went round to this friend's house and they had it on at that time, and I watched it with them. I can't remember. But one thing I actually, my first memory is the when the special editions came out in crisps packets. They had like little Star Wars tokens and stuff. I remember that and see pictures of Luke and before I even really knew what Star Wars was. That's my first memory.
Yeah, arguably, I mean, this series of films, speaking of the original trilogy, were probably some of the most heavily marketed frickin' films so far up until that point. Very much with like Jaws, maybe the Star Wars original trilogy really just exploded the merchandising campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, '97. It was. I mean, you'll probably remember it better than me. I mean, it was pretty huge again, wasn't it? I think it made a lot of money again for the special edition releases in '97. Well, all I'll say is, though, it's kind of like the modern thing is to kind of diss the special editions, but I remember then my brother got the special editions in that little golden case with the side of Vader's head. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
it was like
I think we got something similar in the United States or North America. Yeah.
So I think I just grew up with the special editions in a way. Luckily I did see the originals how they were, but I think I just forgot, and I got so used to the special editions. When I did go back and watch the original cuts, which were just kind of put on the DVD as a kind of like what would you call it? Just in a rough format, wasn't it? I don't know if you had that in America. Yeah, when they did the re-release on DVD, you could watch the originals, but it was just in a very kind of rough transfer.
Yeah, we got that as well, and I made sure to pick that up. They'd already put them out on DVD, the special editions, but it was some special limited release where the second disc, as a quote unquote extra feature, was a very like you say, crappy old versions of the original films.
Yeah, which was kind of strange watching it without a lot of the special edition things. And I have to be honest, that's what I just grew up with. And I will say, just getting on to Empire, I think Empire's the one where it's the least noticeable. I think if you took the special editions out, there's not really that much changed in that movie. The big one being the Emperor. But apart from that, there's not really much.
Yeah, Emperor and the little snow. Probably the biggest thing is the snow creatures scene as well.
Oh yeah, that's true. Again, I've got so used to it, though. I just accept that's how it is. There's a few exceptions where I know, oh, that's a special. It was like Jabba in The New Hope, which I think should have never been put in. That was bad. And obviously, there's hand shot first and all that. And I think in The New Hope, it's at its worst with the special editions.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh, I'd say so. I'm not keen on the complete changing of the song in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi either.
Oh yeah. But again, I have to be honest. I've got so used to like that, that tune. But yeah, I completely get it. You've got to remember, I saw them through kids' eyes. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
No, that's completely understandable. So I don't fault anyone for that. But getting on to Empire Strikes Back, when can you remember?
Yeah.
When can you remember like it really having some kind of? Are you becoming aware of the fact that wow, this movie has risen or is rising up the ranks and is becoming one of my favorite movies?
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Well, I remember us having like you say, the special editions, the three originals, and then my brother lent, for some reason, Empire to one of his friends, and we didn't see it for years. And it was hard to see things back then, You couldn't just, we'll get it on Prime or, I don't know, Google Play. So for years, we didn't have Empire. I just remember watching the first and the third one, or 4 and 6, and years later getting the tape back, and I don't know, maybe I'd grown up a little bit by then, and as I've got older, I don't know, it just seems to resonate every time I watch it. I'm kind of in awe of it, and I'm in awe of the other two as well. Don't get me wrong. But for some reason, Empire is the one that really is kind of, in my opinion, like the meat of it all. The middle bit. But obviously, not your favorite, which is fine. But I get New Hope is definitely a great film as well. So
Yeah, I guess for me the reason New Hope is my favorite is just because it's it's more fun than it is depressing, and arguably Empire Strikes Back is pretty much more depressing with some fun sprinkled here and there.
yeah, it's a very dark tone. But I respect them for going there. It's such a different contrast to the first one. I feel like if they just tried to do Star Wars 2, if you get what I mean, and just kind of like, I don't know, just do a similar formula, I don't think we'd still be talking about Star Wars in the same way. What do you think?
Well, that's a very good point. If they had just done a remake of the first film and had them, have like a frickin' kind of a mission to destroy the Death Cube or something,
Yeah, which happens in Return of the Jedi again, and the Force Awakens and all that. So.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was anyway. Yeah. I'll briefly say I was so disappointed with Force Awakens that they had like another kind of a Death Star. It's like, okay, oh, that's pretty original.
Yeah, nothing about that film is original, is it?
I think that's safe to say. The only thing I liked about it was BB-8. That was a cool design.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing really about that. I mean, I suppose we could use Empire as a leaping off point if you want, and I can talk a bit about the sequels, if that's all right.
Yeah, I'll just name this discussion appropriately, based on what we end up talking about. So that's
Empire and more, but
yeah, something like that.
Well, what I will say about the original trilogy, whether it is on purpose or not, it's kind of like the first one's the desert one. When you're a kid, you kind of think of things a bit more like that. The first one's the desert one. The second one's the snowy one. The third one's the forest one. So they all have a distinctive look. Do you know what I mean? Like, so A New Hope has got that sandy, orangey tone to it. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that actually brings me back to how I kind of did regard these films as a kid when all there was these first three films. That's a good point.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, second one's got like a white, bluish tint to it, and then the third one, I was just think, it's very green. Do you know what I mean? Return of the Jedi, the lightsaber's even green. I don't know. I don't know if being a musician as well, I think a bit like that, like thinking like colours and shades. You know what I mean? And also, each film has got a distinctive score. But anyway, getting back to the sequels, there's nothing there. There is nothing there. There's no, and none of the films have got their own identity. There's no score that's memorable. There's nothing. Do you see what I mean on that one?
Yeah, are you referring to 7, 8, and 9?
Yeah. I mean, you could say, I just don't feel they've got any personality, or there's no memorable score. I mean, even the sequels had a memorable, composition from John Williams. But yeah, just the sequels are the biggest disappointment ever in movie terms, I think.
Okay, what's your thoughts? I'm assuming the sequel, 7, 8, and 9 were more disappointing for you than 1, 2, and 3.
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, for years, I hear the prequels are bad, and I think, oh, they must be bad, but I haven't watched them for a long time. But I remember at the time, I didn't love them, but I didn't. Again, I was a kid. I noticed there was probably too much CGI in it. But I just feel like it's, since the internet's become more and more a part of everyone's life, the prequels are just kind of like by default bad. But I don't remember at the time everyone saying they were that bad. I don't know. what it was like in the US.
Yeah, I think there was kind of an excitement, at the time of their release because, seeing them on the big screen with the sound and stuff was more exciting. I think you might have a little bit of a point there. Like after they stopped playing in theaters is and people were just watching them at home and stuff is maybe when
Yeah,
the a little more of the hate for the prequels started.
yeah. Um, no, I've never loved the prequels, but they're a damn sight better than the sequels, I tell you.
Yeah, that's so interesting how a lot of us, me included, were kind of excited about when the prospect of them actually going to do 7, 8, and 9 arose. We're like, oh wow, these are gonna be so great, and they're gonna blow them prequels out of the water. And
Yeah,
it's so funny how the 7, 8, and 9 make, in my opinion, they make the prequels look a lot better than they did before 7, 8, and 9.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, they make their originals look even better, if that was possible.
Well, that's very true. The franchise has this three film kind of a history where the middle was made first in arguably the best trilogy, and then the beginning was made and arguably the second best trilogy, and then the end, three films were made and arguably once again the worst, and it's just so weird.
Yeah. To me, it ends at Return of the Jedi. That's where it ends for me. There's no story after that.
Absolutely, all the first six films are just basically Anakin's journey from a kid to the dark side back to the light.
That's right. I mean, if you took away the prequels, is it still say if it was just the three originals that only existed, would it still be Anakin's journey or is it Luke's journey?
Well, yeah, that's right. If it was just the original, 4, 5, and 6, it's more about Luke's journey, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. The thing that upset me the most about... We will get onto Empire in a minute. The thing that upset me the most about the sequels is the treatment of Luke. Or being a childhood hero, kind of like one of the first role models I'd ever have. But he did the right thing in the end, or like Vader, he basically was so strong and defiant in Return of the Jedi. At the end, it gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. His belief that his dad was good, but he was willing to sacrifice himself, and then the sequels ruined that for me. I was just like, that was really heartbreaking.
Yeah, I want to say that Mark Hamill was like the first billing for Force Awakens in the credits, and he appears at the very end for all of 10 seconds without a line of dialogue. It was pretty pathetic.
Yeah, he was actually second bill. It was Harrison Ford, which I thought, that's interesting. It was usually the other way around, but I see why, I guess. But he's not even in it.
Oh, okay, second billing. Yeah, that is really insane that he can get second billing for his amount of screen time in that movie.
It's crazy. Yeah, I don't get it with movies though. You can make that argument about. Have you seen Apocalypse Now?
Yes, I have.
Martin Sheen's the main character in that film, and he's billed third, and Marlon Brando's first, and he doesn't turn up to the last 10 minutes. So I always found that was weird.
Who the hell's the second villain?
Robert Duvall. Who's in it for like 5 minutes. What's that all about?
Well, I guess
crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if I guess they do the order in how well known and famous the performer is in that film anyway.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, there's a few. We're going off topic a little bit now, but I suppose I guess there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a few more examples I can think of which do that. Where so like E.T. and it always said and Henry Thomas as Elliot. I always thought that was weird.
Well, yeah, I just recorded some showcasings of the first two Reanimator films on VHS that I'll be uploading, sooner than later. And it's same thing, and Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West. But in my opinion, Jeffrey Combs is the star of the Reanimator films.
Yeah, strange. But there you go. That was probably a lot to do with kind of the political side in the day. Actors, I don't know. It was to do with kind of their gravitas at the time. I suppose they could arrange it with agents to get their name on the front of the poster or whatever. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, then there was even this trend in the 80s. I don't know how long it continued, but there's this trend in the 80s where people could, I guess, they could request a box around their name. And, the film Don't Go in the Woods is a good example of that. No one knows who any of the performers are in Don't Go in the Woods, but one of them, by the name of Angie Brown, requested a box around her name. And if you look at
right.
I don't know if it's every single video release of it, but Angie Brown, no one knows who she is. Wow. But she's got a box around her name.
Wow, I'm sure. Well, you did remember her name. It worked.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's another example of that with I think what's kind of started a lot, that was Tower and Inferno with Paul Newman and Steve McQueen, because they were both wanted to be top billed, and it was like a big thing, a big deal. So when the film starts, the credits, they both come at the same time, their names. Paul Newman is bottom left, and Steve McQueen is top right. So it's kind of like, because I saw a documentary on it, it was just like, well, it's kind of like a bit petty, really, but.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think something similar with the original Halloween 2 as well, because when the first Halloween...
yeah, Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah. I can think of another example. I know we really are going off topic, but Alien, Tom Skerritt is top billed.
Oh, okay.
Which is strange. Not Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, he must have been the more notable performer at the time.
At that time, yeah. So, anyway, Empire. I think, would you agree it's it holds up the most? I mean, not necessarily if it's your favourite, but just visually, I think it holds up the best.
Yeah, well, as a kid and teenager and stuff, over the years when the original trilogy was the only one that existed for that time period, yeah, absolutely. But I would also, for me, I always regarded them as the first film. Episode 4 had the weakest visual effects, and then 4 and 5 had the best visual effects. So not only does Empire hold up really well, but also Return of the Jedi as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think just the way, artistically, the clouds and the fight between Luke and Vader, how it's all lit. I love all that. Just the atmosphere of that. It kind of turns into a bit of almost a horror film in the end. Yeah, it was a scary film when you're a kid, and seeing Luke's hand get cut off was a real shock.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought as a kid. And sitting here talking about it, I'm trying to remember. I mean, there's a possibility I might have seen this like in the theater, first or second run, like Empire. But I'm not. I can just remember being like disturbed by that moment of Luke being defeated by Vader, and like you say, the chopping of the hand off and him falling down that thing. So the more I think about it, maybe I did see Empire Strikes Back, either first or second. Well, we mostly did second run theater because my dad was frugal, but yeah, maybe I did see this in the theater.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still, to say that the original 3 Star Wars films were rated U for Universal. I don't know if it is in America. In the UK, on all the DVDs or on the VHS, it was always U for Universal. Anyone can watch it, and I thought, well, there's actually some pretty dark stuff in there. Even in the first film, A New Hope, you see someone get their arm chopped off by Obi-Wan, and you see Uncle Owen and Aunt Peru with skeletons. And
Yeah.
Some pretty dark stuff in there.
Yeah, in North America, the original trilogy was PG rated, which is just one step above G. General audiences. G is the lowest rating, or the most anyone can see. G.
Okay, so that's what we had in the UK equivalent, which was U. Anyone can watch it. So yeah, I suppose because it's fantasy, maybe that's why. I don't know.
That could be
especially at that time.
That could be the justification. It's interesting hearing the fact that basically in the UK the original trilogy was the equivalent of G rating in North America. You know, with horror movies and stuff, the UK seems to be more strict about stuff. So in regards to these films, they're more lax, which is weird.
Yeah, I think they were at one time in the UK a lot more strict on ratings. I don't think that's so much a thing now, because for years you couldn't get Texas Chainsaw Massacre or A Clockwork Orange or anything like that, or Evil Dead. I think they're all like classed as video nasties. But then I think when DVD came around and kind of like DVDs became more like, there'd be like collector's editions and things like that, you'd start to see a lot more of them, horror films and stuff. So I think you can more or less get anything now.
Well, since we're already all over the place, as long as you brought up the ratings in the UK, what was Jaws rated?
Well, that's funny, because I don't know what it would, because I don't think, because on the DVD cover I've got at home, it's a 12. So what is it in America?
Jaws is PG, so the same rating as the original Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, okay. That's another case, because I'd rate probably Jaws. I don't know if I was in charge of that side of things back in the day. I'd say Jaws was a 15. But I don't know what 15 is. 15 is, we have U, PG, 12, 15, and 18. So like 15 was, so a good example, the first Terminator was an 18, the second Terminator was a 15.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So the second Terminator in the UK wasn't rated as harshly as the first.
No. And then Terminator 3 was 12. And then I think it just stayed at 12A since then.
Okay, well, just so you know, in North America, all the first 3 Terminators were rated R, which is probably the equivalent of, I don't know, whatever, 18 or...
An 18, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it? But wasn't Tourist Trap a PG?
Yeah, see, I think that really hurt that film, and I contend that Tourist Trap may have been much more of a known classic that did a lot more business if it had been rated R. I think the PG rating might have turned to kind of put off horror movie fans.
It should be an R, because it's pretty dark stuff, isn't it? It's like, I wouldn't say that film's for kids.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it's a real bummer. They really should have just dropped a couple F-bombs and showed a couple pairs of tits and.
Oh, is that what it is then? Right. Okay.
Yeah, because there's no nudity or no swearing and no overt on-screen violence. So.
Well, maybe Texas Chainsaw Massacre could be a PG then.
I think that's a little much to be PG, but I hear you.
Yeah.
He's making a joke, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, but just getting back to Empire, I just like in the first film how they're all together, and I actually like how they split off. So Luke goes and does his own thing, and Han and Leia. I like that, but they're still very well connected. I feel like there's like a bond there, like a loyalty. One thing I thought about is, do you know when Luke is conflicted whether he should go and save Han, and Yoda and Obi-Wan are, saying you must not go, you're not ready. Right? One thing I thought, well, at the start of the film, Han saved Luke. So I wonder if that was put there to show Luke's kind of obligation to feel like he has to go and save Han and Leia,
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I would say most likely the case. Yeah, have Han save him, and then there's more of a motivation for him to want to return the favor.
Yeah, but I feel like even though they're not together, they kind of are in a spiritual way almost. Oh, that sounds a bit corny, but I don't know. It just seems like when Lando says he's after someone called Skywalker, and then Han goes, Luke. It's just I don't know, the way the music goes. It's just like there's he really cares about him now.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I would imagine one of the things that's kind of a bummer, one of the ways the prequels ruin the original trilogy would be a great example if one were to basically watch them in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, obviously, is the kind of joke and reveal of Yoda is being completely spoiled by the prequels if you watch them in order. And when you saw these films 4, 5, and 6 originally in their release order, we didn't know that Yoda was playing a kind of a joke on Luke at the beginning there.
Yeah. So I love all that with Yoda, though. That's fantastic. And as I've got older, when I was a kid, I just thought he was just kind of he's just saying words of wisdom like an adult. But as I've got older, a lot of it reigns true for me, and just this kind of Yoda's just operating on this different plane from everyone else. He's so at peace with everything, and he looks at the bigger picture. And I don't know, he's very grown up, and Luke is still kind of like a teenager with angst, and he's almost a bit aggressive, very defensive. And I could be a Jedi, and then bangs his head and all that and stuff.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and thinking that line where I think Yoda says he's too old to be a Jedi, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, I mean he's a pretty young guy, so I'm kind of like too old. That never made sense to me until the prequels. Yeah,
I love Frank Oz's just everything about him. His old never his mind on where he was, what he was doing. All that. I just love his mannerisms. They just point to him with a stick, and it's great.
Well, god dang, that was I'm sure people would agree that was a hell of a Yoda voice you did there.
Oh, cool. Thanks. But I listened to another podcast because I don't like to claim opinion. If I've got a reference, this was from a channel called Armchair Directors. I don't know if you've ever watched them.
Not that I'm aware of.
They're pretty good, but they hit on a point with it's kind of like the whole kind of the light and the dark side of the Force, whereas Yoda for the whole film is just disappointed with Luke. He's like, you're reckless, you're too old, and I don't think he ever compliments him. Do you know what I mean? He's very kind of like that. I don't know. He's being cruel to be kind at first.
Yeah, that might.
However, go on.
That might be a little bit too of a test in itself, honestly. Just talking down to him and see how he responds.
Yeah. However, when Luke finally meets Vader's the one going impressive. You know what I mean? And And,
Yeah.
so that was psychologically be very, when they say the dark side is more seductive and stuff. And I think, well, that's really well written.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I even thought of that until you mentioned it. The fact that Yoda is tearing him, talking down to him, and Vader's like, "Very good job."
Yeah, yeah. Obi-Wan has taught you well, kind of thing, like. But again, it's yeah, very yeah. The dark side is the easier path, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, if Luke did turn at that point, you could kind of see it. Also, Luke is very another point. Jedi is always supposed to be for defense, never attack. Whereas Luke is the one who draws the lightsaber first on Vader, which is interesting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, another good point.
Because as far as he knows at that point, this is the man who killed his father, as far as he knows. So I think he wants Vader dead, and then obviously there's the biggest twist in film history. A lot of people say Mark Hamill's performance at that point when he finds out, and when he screams no, they always say he's like overacted, but I think it's pitch perfect. I think that's how people would be in that situation. You've just had your arm chopped off and you just found out that the person who did it is your father. I think he almost slips back into like a childlike cry. I feel like that was good.
Well, right. Not only chopped his hand off, but killed Obi-Wan, and now you're telling me this.
Yeah.
This guy's my dad. It's just like I don't think you could overreact to that kind of information.
Yeah. But he turns into like almost a boy in that point. He kind of, do you get what I mean? He kind of cries out like a child almost, like, which is interesting, And Vader's the one going, we could rule the galaxy as father and son, and yeah, it's all. I think with Empire, I always get something different out of it. I think that's why. It's got to be up there as one of my favourite films. I always kind of notice very, what's the word? I just think, and The New Hope is great. I just find like the Empire Strikes Back is a slightly more focused film, a little bit more realised with the characters. And would you agree on that or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, Episode 4 is kind of like the swashbuckling introduction of the characters, and Empire is like, okay, well, let's split them up and see how they fare on their own now.
Yeah. What's your opinion on Lando?
Yeah, that's a really cool addition to the rebels, if you will, or the good guys. And I can remember seeing it, as a kid, possibly in the second run theater, and just not knowing at the time, obviously, whether we can trust this guy or not. And there's a period there where it's kind of confirmed. Well, I guess we can't trust him, and then only to have him kind of redeem himself at the end. So that was an interesting character at the time. That was kind of like, God, can we trust this guy or not? Kind of what's that word? Yeah, anxiety situation.
Yeah, I mean, he was in a. When you first see the film, I can't remember my first reaction to watching it because it's just like Star Wars just in my blood now. You know what I mean? It's like it's always been there. But imagine the first time you've seen him, you do think he's untrustable. But then you think about it, he was in a position. What could he do? I mean, he either kind of sold his friend out, or he'd be dead. He was backed him into a corner, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he does redeem himself. I don't know where I saw it or something, but I don't know if it was like, how Lando basically rivals Han Solo as the new dude in town, the kind of the womanizing, kind of slightly sleazy but charming guy, and like I don't know if it's kind of put in place to make, you know, like if Harrison Ford doesn't come back for Return of the Jedi, we have got this guy. You know, I mean, I don't know where I read that, but he's even wearing Han's clothes at the end of the film. So, because you know the whole story that Harrison Ford didn't, he thought Han Solo should have died at the end of Empire. He didn't want to come back for Return of the Jedi, but he was, you know, eventually talked into it. But so I feel like, you know, if they couldn't get Harrison Ford back, Lando may have just taken his place. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah, that never even occurred to me, but I was well aware of the putting him in the carbon freeze or whatever, so that way we can decide between episode 5 and 6 whether Harrison's going to come back or not that way. But I never really even thought about setting up his potential replacement with Lando. That's a good point.
It could be, or it could be just people reading too much into it. But I mean, I don't know. People say Harrison Ford hasn't got much to do in the last film, but I think he has enough. I think he's there for Leia, you know, and I like that. I like that arc that they, because she mellows a lot. By the third film, she's mellowed. You know, she was very uptight in the first two films, in a good way. You know, she was still likable, but and also Hannah mellowed. You know, I feel like they were good pair. That's another thing I didn't like about the sequels, how they split them up, or the divorce now, or whatever. That just why would you do that?
Yeah, I guess it's just them trying to interject some unnecessary drama or something.
Yeah, but I'm getting off track now. But where was I? Would you agree that the characters? I mean, Luke grows so much between 4 and 6, New Hope and Return of the Jedi, and I think the other characters do not as much, but they kind of, I don't know, they seem to just grow up a little bit by the end.
Yeah, 4 through 5 are definitely Luke's journey films, and they're all kind of on the same playing field in 4, and then I guess when you get into 5 and 6, it kind of becomes more about Luke, and the other characters are just there to support him.
Yeah, that's true. I just feel like Leia, she was trying to resist Han, but by the end, Return of the Jedi, she's all over him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he won her over. You know. I remember talking about this. I was having a laugh in the pub because A New Hope is probably the most quotable film ever. Just the whole because we used to just tap on each other's shoulder and go, "My friend, he doesn't like you," that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't like you either. We used to get a laugh out of it. You know, but we just say what's funny but great about that first film, A New Hope, is like if you actually watch it, nobody gets along. Everyone hates each other in that first film, which is great. You know, I mean, they grow to like each other by the last scene, but there's a lot of kind of conflict there. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why for me it's the best one. But
I hear what you're saying.
I really just like the energy of episode 4. It's got a lot of energy.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I mean, it's kind of. I feel like for me, A New Hope is like A New Hope and Empire is a bit like Terminator 1, Terminator 2. You know, there's not personally. I don't think there's. How can I describe it? I don't think it's like a. I do think personally, Empire is the best. It's the best made, the best written for me personally. It's the best visually. But you saying A New Hope, I'm kind of like, yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? It's not like the difference between Die Hard and Die Hard 2. You know what I mean? It's like, I get it.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was really cool about, branching briefly off to New Hope was the way it began. It almost made it look like it was going to be a movie with these droid characters as the main characters. I really like how when they crash onto that planet, that for a while there, it's like, God, is this going to be a movie about these two?
Yeah, it does. It does feel like that again because I've seen it so many times, and it's just ingrained in my soul. I guess I don't even really think about that, but someone watching it for the first time, I wonder if they think, I mean, it is still kind of their story, but yeah, it is their story in a way. Everything happens kind of because of them, but by the end of the film, obviously Luke's the guy. It's a strange way of starting a film, really.
Yeah, I can't imagine what people like back in '77 in the theater were thinking when they had these two robots trudging over the sand dunes and stuff. It's just like, what are we watching?
Yeah, I think also with Empire, it's the way it's shot, and it just feels a little bit more cinematic to me. Feels a bit more like you're really in Cloud City in the way. Whereas I feel like A New Hope's still got that slight 70s campiness to it a bit. I feel like A New Hope, Empire really looks like it was shot yesterday, to me.
Yeah, definitely agree with New Hope being definitely the clunkiest of the original trilogy films. That's for sure. But like you say, that's because it's a product of its decade, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like half and half. It's kind of really innovative in a lot of ways, but it's still got, I mean, like Mark Hamill's hair and Han Solo, it looks a bit 70s, whereas like the way they're dressed in Empire just looks a little bit more timeless, if that makes sense, and the way they look, the way they're lit is just a little bit. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You could almost show Empire Strikes Back to a teenager now, and they wouldn't even be able to. They'd probably be surprised it was 1980.
Yeah, it holds up incredibly well. What was I going to say? I know it sounds bad because Mark Hamill had a car accident between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. I'm sure you know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why they had to do that scene where he gets his face hurt by the snow creature.
Yeah, and I actually think he looks better for it. In the second film, I think he looks better. I just found him, you know what I mean? I think I know it's a small detail, but I think his nose looks better in the second film.
Well, yeah, that's a valid point.
It almost looks younger. I don't know. It just looks more defined. Again, I don't know if it's just Irving Kershner. I mean, would you say on an objective level, Irving Kershner was a better director than George Lucas?
Oh, I'd say so, and it's very possible that if someone else had helmed episode 4 maybe wouldn't be so clunky.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've got like an opposing view in the way, like some people prefer Terminator 2, and I prefer Terminator 1, even though I know in a certain level Terminator 2 is the better made film. It's more. Do you get what I mean by that?
Oh, so in regards to me liking episode 4 more than 5?
Yeah, I feel like it's the similar kind of thing. So if it was equivalent, yeah. You get what I mean?
Oh, okay, right, yeah. So I prefer Terminator 2, and you prefer Terminator. You prefer episode 5, and I prefer episode 4.
Yeah, because I prefer Terminator 1 because it's clunkier and more low budget, I guess. But in this case, with Star Wars, I prefer the more polished looking second film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that absolutely does make sense. Yeah, and in both instances, I think we can agree that the first film is the clunkier of both, Terminator and Star Wars, and T2 and Empire being much more technically competent.
Yeah, And yeah, I just there's just certain films I never tire of watching, and Empire's one. And you know what I say is now, as I've got older, I'm not a massive Star Wars fan. I'm a massive fan of that film, and basically the first three. Because it's weird now. I hate more Star Wars films than I like. So am I actually a fan anymore? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I'd say I'd say you can call yourself a fan if you just like one of them. Hell, I mean, it's not
Yeah,
your fault that the majority of them now suck.
yeah. It's it's a shame. You know, part of me, I think like 90% of me just wishes it would have remained as that, just the three originals. You know. But there's like, obviously, there's that excitement for when something new comes out, I guess. But
Yeah, that's true. Then the excitement kind of dwindles not long after the new crap comes out.
yeah, I think the sequels were so concerned about everything being practical and being so different from the prequels, trying to be like the originals. They kind of forgot what the essence of Star Wars was. They were so preoccupied of trying to make it look like it, and all you get is this kind of artificial characters. And someone described it best. It's like people running through Star Wars land. That's what the sequels are like. You know?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. As if you know the backdrop was just that, a backdrop, and you've
Yeah,
got these just generic characters that are just thrown in front of
yeah,
the Star Wars
yeah.
backdrop.
The way to replicate the originals is not to replicate them, is to have the same quality. I think that's all people want, is to be well written and as well. But I don't know. Thing is, when Star Wars came out, obviously I wasn't around, but I've seen enough about history of film and documentaries to know how important it was at that time, and you know, kind of I would give maybe the world a lift in a way, you know, or maybe America. You know, it was just the right time, and just as, you know, the blockbuster was coming in, and there was kind of like, it kind of just broke the mold of what a film could be, you know, especially the first one. And trying to recapture that now is kind of redundant, you know?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, a lot of the successful movies, you know, be it Jaws or the first Star Wars film, or any kind of movies that have this phenomenal audience reaction, is just a kind of a needle in the haystack kind of a thing, and right material at the right time. And Jurassic Park is another example, you know, and to try to and it is kind of an era, and it's something that just happens, and it is hard to, in a lot of ways, you know, maybe not even right to try to continually, you know, try to capture that feeling in an era that's completely changed. You know, try to capture
Yeah,
that era of the original trilogy in a time when, you know, the world and people have become
yeah,
so much more different than
that's right.
back then. Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know, I describe the original trilogy as like, for real, falling in love with someone. There's excitement, there's electricity, and it's a bit dangerous, you know. And then the sequels is kind of like, I don't know, getting back together when the magic's gone. I don't know. It's still the same people, but it's just not there, you know? I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a good analogy.
Well, yeah, like maybe a married couple that separated for 6 months and got back together because
Yeah.
their expenses apart were too high to for either of them to bear.
I'll tell you what it's like. I know my little metaphors analogy is a bit weird, but it's like, A New Hope is Friday night. It's like, woo! Empire is, oh no, this doesn't work. Hang on. That's not a good analogy. No, I was going to go Return of the Jedi is like a Sunday glue, but Return of the Jedi is really good. What I say is, like, you get a great film, Like, if I asking people out on a Saturday night and they're like, woo, and then should we try and recreate it the next night on the Sunday? It's like, it might be half decent for a bit, but it's like, well, we've kind of had enough now, you know.
Well, you know, here's a good example. So the original trilogy is Friday night, prequel trilogy is Saturday, and the sequel trilogy is Sunday.
Yeah, it's Monday. But what I'm saying is, it's kind of like it's like when people ask you out on a night out and it's spontaneous and you couldn't have planned for it, and it was just a bit of magic in the air that night, you know. And then you plan it the next time and it just doesn't work, you know. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like there's something not organic about the sequels, you know. It's just that's what I mean.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense.
There's no love or blood, sweat, and tears gone into it like the originals, you know. Especially the first one, because I mean, all the odds were against George Lucas, you know. And I feel like J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy went in with too much confidence and too much ego. It's like, yeah, we've got Star Wars, you know, and they thought they could just write any old crap, and that was it, you know. But yeah, I do think it's not just Star Wars; it's just films in general. I do feel like we've definitely lost. You can just sense it in the cinema now. It's not like how it used to be. It's just not.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. By the way, have you seen the new Jurassic Park?
No. Have you?
No, I kind of want to. Do you have any intentions to see it in the theater, or are you just gonna wait till?
Well, funnily enough, it's got really terrible reviews from everyone, which shouldn't, you know, affect me going to see it. But I just kind of like, I mean, I'm so tired of this. I've been fooled too many times now. They did it with Star Wars, like, you know, like wheel the old characters back in, and it's going to be great again, and it's just not going to be, you know. So I don't know.
You've been tricked too many times.
That's it, you know. Die Hard, Indiana Jones, Aliens, Rocky. You know, it's just I don't know.
Makes sense.
Jurassic World was good. I've just kind of lost interest after that, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I agree. I liked the first Jurassic World from 2015.
Yeah, that was a good popcorn film. I'd say it was perfectly fine. Almost like a B movie, summer action. You know, just good popcorn fun. You know.
I agree.
Yeah, it's fine. It didn't reach the heights of the original one, but it was kind of felt like the natural progression. Like, well, where are you going to take it? It's like, well, let's have the park open. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. That seems kind of logical, I guess.
I'd say so.
Yeah. But, I mean, if you're going to be logical about the sequels, they should really have just left Luke and Han and everyone alone. Because, like I say, their story arcs was done, you know, as far as I'm concerned. So, the only thing to do with them is just drag them down, you know.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of. You know. So, have you got, just get back to Empire, have you got a favourite scene?
Oh gosh, I'd say, well, I mean, I've got more than one. I mean, obviously the Hoth battle with the big four-legged walkers. I mean, that's the first scene that's just unbelievable, even these days. And that scene probably, I mean, maybe it has little fixes here and there, but that scene even on the special edition is mostly untouched.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, I mean, that's all just models behind a blue screen. Am I right?
Yeah, just stop motion walkers and you know composited models and yeah, blue screen work and all that kind of old fashioned stuff. Frickin' amazing. And
you can really feel the. I don't sound too nerdy, you know. doesn't seem like we're so against CGI, even though it's incredible what they can do now with stuff like that. You know, there's something about knowing that there's been modeled. There's like a physicality to it when it's been done that way with models and do you know what I mean? It's just got more weight to it.
Yeah, isn't that something? How these little models that are probably, I don't know, probably maybe more like 2 feet tall, just stop motion animation, have more weight to them than a computer generated effect. But the sound design also with the walkers was really huge.
Oh, fantastic! Again, I mean, that would have been organic. Who was the sound guy? I always forget his name. He's quite famous.
Oh yeah, Ben Burt.
But he'd actually go out with like an analog recorder into woodland and get all these animal sounds, and then different banging on pipes and wires to get that kind of sound and all that. And it's organic. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like now they go on a software, installment on the computer and go through samples of stuff, and yeah. It's, what do you think?
Well, I back to scenes that I like in Empire. Obviously, my another big one is that asteroid scene. Really, really is amazing. Even holds up now still.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When there's an amazing bit which I'd love to have seen back in 1980, where the Falcon kind of does a flip and then it goes down into the pit. Do you know what I mean? And it's just so well shot, that bit.
Oh yeah, where it heads towards that big asteroid.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Even today, it's impressive.
Yep, and let's not forget the music during that scene too. It's just so huge.
Exciting, yeah. To me, Empire's got so many. You know, when you get goosebumps. It's got so many of those moments, you know. For me, just stuff that's, you know, relatable just to the film, but also just kind of like morals and life lessons and stuff. I think that's why, as I've got older, I've appreciated even more. Just you know, when Luke says, "I don't believe it," and Yoda's like, "That's why you fail." You know, that's why you fail, which gives me goosebumps and stuff like that. And when you know, that boy is our last hope, and it's just so incredible. You know, when his ship takes off, and then Yoda's covered in that red light, and there's another, and I just get shivers. You know. So that's go on.
How do you feel about that? Speaking of, there is another. I mean, I'm of the opinion that they kind of set that up for possibly Leia to be more of an active kind of Jedi in the third film. What are your thoughts about the fact that that never happened? I mean, obviously the fact that they set it up doesn't mean it had to happen, but what are your thoughts on the fact that it didn't happen?
Well, is he talking about Leia, or is he talking about Vader?
Oh!
Vader's...
Yeah, I guess that's a possibility. He's saying Vader could go back to good, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. So that's interesting. You know, another observation I made about, if I may, about the sequels versus the originals is the bad guys in the sequels are very, you know, rebel scum, blah, 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 you know what I mean? It's just very hammy and over the top. Whereas, like, Vader would never do that. But, you know, when he captures Han and Leia in Cloud City, we would be honoured if you would join us. And I feel like there's a part of him, he's like, I don't know, he kind of respects them in a way, like, don't underestimate the power of the Force and all that. He's kind of like, do you know what I mean? Well, you wouldn't go around and go, I mean, I know it was sarcastic. We would be honoured if you would join us, but I feel like, I don't know. It's just the way he said it there's a slight sincereness to it, but in a sinister way. You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't think the Rebel scum really started. I don't think that started until like the sixth film with like on Endor or something, and that one guy is like when they got caught trying to blow up the shield generator building, and that one guy's like rebel scum.
Yeah, you rebel scum. Yeah. Yeah, but what I mean though is in the sequels, that's how just all the bad guys seem to be. It's just like it's very black and white with them, you know.
Yeah, it's that cliche just based on that one guy in the sixth film or the sixth episode.
Is it Hooks keeps that ginger guy?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's just
Hooks.
terrible. Like, just feel like Vader was kind of like, even though you know Luke is his enemy, there's still a bit of I don't know. I just feel like when he said we'd be honoured if you would join us to Han, yeah, I guess he's being sarcastic in a way, but there's a slight bit of I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he's overthinking it, but
Well, yeah, even if it's sinister respect, it's still respect.
yeah. I mean, like when Chewie acts out, doesn't he? When Han's about to be frozen in carbonite or carbon freeze, whatever it is, and there's a stormtrooper who's going to take. Oh no, it's the Boba Fett's going to take the shot at Chewie, and Vader stops him, which is a small detail. Do you know which bit I mean?
Oh yeah, I got that right in my head. Yeah, I can remember what you're talking about. I always, yeah, I always figured he just didn't want Han killed because he's worth money, but
Well, yeah, there's that, but I just feel like um, there was a slight moment. Let them have their moment in Vader. You know, maybe I don't know.
well, that could definitely be read into there as well. That's a good point.
Yeah, or it's just kind of like, well, let's not make matters worse. You know, he's like Vader's evil, but he's clever as well. He's kind of. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Let's not escalate the situation by shooting the Wookiee. You know what I mean? Let's keep everything nice and organised and calm. It's, I mean, he is a bastard in it. There's no doubt about it. But he's well written, you know.
He's a nice bastard.
He's a nice bastard. In the end, he is.
That's very true. Yeah.
But, do you rate Mark Hamill's performance in Empire? Because I think he's really good in it. You know, I think he's better in it than A New Hope.
Yeah, I mean, in A New Hope, he was a young kind of a punk actor kid who, didn't really take it very seriously. So yeah, I'd agree that his on-screen performance was greatly improved in Episode 5.
Yeah, and he's looking in good shape as well. Do you know what I mean? He looked like when he's training in Dagobah, he's looking like he muscled up a little bit, not massively or anything like Arnie or but you know what I'm saying? For someone built like Mark Hamill, he was looking healthy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they like to put them poor actors through the paces in the gym before a role like that. So one of the benefits to hard work in the gym, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like Empire was kind of that attention to detail. I was trying to think, A New Hope, George Lucas wouldn't, I don't know, be like, oh, Bill Burr, get him on the set, you know? So, I do like George Lucas, though. I find him amusing. Constantly amusing.
Yeah.
Apparently his direction on the first film was faster, more intense. That's what he used to say.
That was the extent of his direction. Okay.
Well, that makes sense though, because that's the way A New Hope is. You know, he's very kind of like zippy and fun, and you know what I mean. So maybe that's exactly what he wanted. You know.
That's true, and you can't deny it. And you know, one of my favorite aspects of episode 4 is just the end scene with the trench run. I mean, even by today's standards, the tension that is created in that scene, I can't even imagine experiencing that in '77.
Yeah. You know, I think you have to see Star Wars, especially those three, when you're a kid, and then I think obviously you did as well, so you can completely relate to how kind of magical it is. And that scene when Obi-Wan says, you know, when he comes to help me, use the Force, Luke, and the music swells up, and I am completely taken back to being a kid at that moment. You know what I mean? That really just fills me with joy, that moment in A New Hope.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it just, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many themes, that John Williams themes from that era, 70s, early 80s, that bring a tear to my eye. You know, a lot of them are like, you know, Yoda's theme, and so many of the, you know, like Han and Leia theme, and so many of the themes in the first trilogy, like, they're just like really themes that just represent that era in movie history.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Star Wars is it's not really about space. I'd say Star Trek is about space and science fiction. Star Wars just happens to be set in space. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel like John Williams brings that reminder of that human emotion quality. So you can forget I think that's another genius move, because I think it was debated at the time in the 70s, should it have more of like because it's space science fiction, should it have more of an electronic sound or techno sound? Do you know what I mean? But they said, no, we need a classical, universal, old kind of sounding score to make this film completely timeless, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, after all, it takes place a long time ago, so old music, old for an old story.
Yeah. But the heart of it is basically well, George Lucas has called it a soap opera, hasn't he? You know, it's about a family, really. Father and sons, and doing the right thing, I guess, and all that. And yeah, it's there's not really much, right? Like, you know, you say A New Hope's your favorite. I mean, for me, it's like A New Hope's a 9 out of 10, and Empire's a 10. You know, so it's not like I don't not love A New Hope as well. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just personally, I just think I just feel like it's something really masterfully made about Empire, you know. I love the story of the behind the scenes, that George Lucas completely funded it, the second film, so he could have it exactly how he wanted it. He wanted it to be a dark, because I think the studio wanted it to be, you know, another Star Wars film. Let's do Star Wars again, and I feel like if he hadn't have done that, it would have been a different film, you know.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and possibly one of the more you know, correct decisions George Lucas has made in his career.
Yeah, it's funny because he kind of like took full charge of the sequels, but also took a step back in putting other directors in there, which is interesting. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the stress of the first film, or because he's obviously a massive. Still, his fingerprints are all over Empire and Return of the Jedi, but you know, he wasn't the man in charge on those films. So that's interesting that he handed it over to other people, I think.
Yeah, it does make you wonder why, but it could have been just like you say, just stress, just a load off, hand it off to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, also he set up Lucasfilm was an official thing by then, and he got a whole business side of it to handle, and so I think that might have been another reason.
Most likely, yeah.
But yeah, I do enjoy a lot of the parodies on the internet of George Lucas. I don't know if you've seen a lot of them, but they do make me laugh.
Yeah, probably what I've seen more of is just like people adding more and more effects to, or maybe there's
Yeah,
maybe a trailer for Force Awakens special edition or something like that. Those are the things I see more of. That's kind of funny.
yeah. I saw some parody of when The Force Awakens was coming out, and they did like actors. I don't know what, if it was on YouTube or something, but like George Lucas trying to break into the set of Force Awakens, so no one will let him in. I thought it was funny. And then he's just going, "Oh yeah, you remember me, Mark Hamill? Remember me?" Oh. But yeah, I mean, it gets criticised a lot, but I think for the prequels, but I think he's having the last laugh now, you know.
Yeah, I'd say so, all the way to the bank.
Yeah, um, but yeah, I'm just thinking what else I could say about Empire. Really, I mean, it's funny the films that you love the most. I could probably talk more about the films I don't like, but yeah, I wouldn't change anything about it. I've got no complaints about it. Is the reason why it's kind of not doesn't hold? Is it just like more A New Hope's just more up your alley, or is it slightly more somber feel of Empire turns you off a little bit, or
Yeah, so yeah, basically like for me, as much as like the Yoda stuff on Dagobah is cool and stuff. Honestly, for me, it's like, well, let's face it, it plays best in a first time viewing, not knowing that this green little squash thing with the ears is Yoda. Honestly, on repeat viewings, I'm not crazy about the Dagobah training stuff. And let's face it, yeah, I guess the biggest reason it's not my favorite is because of just the soap opera slash just somber, as you said, slash depressing aspect of the film. And yeah, I don't know, maybe if in fact I did see it in a second run theater in 1980 or 81 or whatever, just probably a little too dark for me at that time, and maybe just left an impression that is unchangeable. But yeah, I just, the somberness is I guess the main reason.
yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I've got to be honest. When I was younger, I think I just viewed it as one. Star Wars was just Star Wars. The three films was just one complete thing. As I've got older, Empire's the one I've grown to respect the most, and I can just like isolate that one and just watch that one, you know. But I remember someone saying like Star Wars is like a play of your first act, which is A New Hope, and then you have your second act, the middle part, which is usually when, like in plays, when everything goes wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that's usually the kind of the most interesting part, and then the third part is the resolution and kind of when the heroes come back and win. So I suppose you could just see it as one whole thing, or or I don't know. I feel like Empire stands on its own a bit for me,
Yeah, I think the general consensus, or at least I've heard that from a lot of people, that it's their favorite Star Wars film. So I know that you're definitely not alone in that
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. I'd say it's like it's a bit like Alien or Aliens, It's kind of I don't think there's that much in it. I do prefer Alien actually, which is interesting, but I just feel like Empire is just a more realized film, if that makes sense. And
No,
more,
I'd agree with that. As I've already said, I mean, frickin' whatchamacallit, the episode 4 is pretty sloppy, as much as it's I really love its high energy and stuff, but it is sloppy, but that's okay. I mean, sloppy can be good.
absolutely, yeah. I feel like if you watch a lot of the documentaries, A New Hope was a classic film. It was saved in the edit. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, editing is so frickin' crucial.
It is, but I feel like with Empire, it was still a gamble. You know, it wasn't like it was still a gamble. A lot of hard work went into it, but just a lot more time to build these incredible sets, and the visual effects had got better, which doesn't necessarily mean it's a better film for that. But I feel like it's just that example. Like when I'm watching certain scenes from a New Hope, I feel like I'm watching sets from an outside point of view, which is still great. But with Empire, I'm really like I pulled into it. I feel like I'm immersed in it. You know, that's the difference for me.
Episode 4, the sets feel too much like sets for you.
Some of it, not all of it. Like some of the Death Star scenes with Peter Cushing looks a bit, you know, you see all those little flashing lights, looks a bit 70s to me. It looks a bit Battlestar Galactica to me. Some, just the odd bit, you know. Whereas Empire just, I don't know, it feels like a wider screen as well, the way it's shot. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you know much about that. It just feels it's got a bit more scope to it and stuff. Yeah. But again, it's just each saw on their own on that one, you know. If you said you prefer The Last Jedi to Empire or Force Awakens, I would probably be. I don't know. I think we'd be having a bit more of a discussion, but yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they prefer New Hope, or some people really like Return of the Jedi the best. And I say Return of the Jedi's got some of my favourite scenes from Star Wars, you know, as a whole. I mean, does Return of the Jedi hold up as well for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say this is gonna really piss you off, but I'd say if I were to rank the original trilogy, it'd be 4 and 6, or yeah, 4, 6, and then 5. Like I really like Return of the Jedi as well.
That's fair. I'd go. Obviously 5 for me. I don't know if I go 5, 6, 4, or it would be. I think I'd have to go 5, 4, 6 because I just feel like A New Hope's just a more important film in a historical sense. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the first.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's but I'll just say the whole the original trilogy is great, you know, and you got a lot of people, you know, like trying to defend the sequels and they're going, well, the originals weren't perfect. And I'm like, oh, come on, you know what I mean? Just they have to go and criticize the originals now to justify the sequels being so bad, you know. You know. Yeah, we know A New Hope's a little bit clunky or whatever, but it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't matter, you know.
Well,
It's like people who don't. Go on.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween and so many classic movies are a little bit clunky.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, that kind of thing doesn't matter to me. It seems to matter to younger generation a lot more, you know, like Jaws, oh, the shark looks fake. Oh God.
It's so funny how the younger generation thinks real things that are photographable look fake, whereas, you know, non-existing computer graphics looks real.
It's crazy, isn't it? Beautiful irony on that one.
Yeah, I think they're being well groomed for living in meta.
That's it. I know, it's crazy. Something's gone wrong though, where I say, and I don't think it's just my age. Where how is it that films now 30 years old? So we're talking Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, look better, far better than what's coming out now. Something's gone wrong. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. That's interesting. It's almost like they feel like they don't have to try as hard or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's well, that's it. I mean, that great art comes from pain and suffering. You know, like, I don't mean it in the sense, but you look at Steven Spielberg with Jaws, the amount of kind of trials and tribulations he went through, you know what I mean? Or, you know, like John Carpenter's Halloween, filmed on next to nothing. You know, you've got 2 weeks to shoot it, go. So he'll be thinking, and he's just trying to be as efficient as possible. I think Halloween is the most efficient film ever made. You know, it's so. Do you get what I mean? It's just enough. It's just so subtle. For you know, like, do you hear what I'm saying?
Oh, so he only put as much on screen as he thought was necessary, and he didn't have time or money for anything else.
That's what I'm saying. So through them limitations comes magic.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Like so many of the, you know, short little videos and short films and things that I've done as a movie fan and a movie you know, just short film guy or feature film guy. It's the same thing. It's like, oh my God, like, you know, there's might have been a location that I wanted to film in, but it didn't work out, and something else better came up because I couldn't film there, and just so many countless examples of how limitations actually can improve stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I have that with when I record music sometimes. For instance, there was a song I was recorded. Sorry, I can't get my words out. I didn't have a kick drum in my house, so I just mic'd up the bottom of my bed and thumped on it with the back of my foot, and it gave a poof, poof, poof sound, and it worked perfectly. And it had a slight like slap back because it was on my bed. Do you get what I mean? It was just something like that. If I'd have gone out and bought everything I needed with loads of money, I wouldn't have had that. You know, that's just a slight example.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Somehow those kind of last minute or split second, you know, fixes kind of, I don't know, they just are a great defining characteristic of just what it is to be human, I guess.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, or what was I going to say? You know what would be interesting? An interesting experiment is Spielberg. Right, I want you to go and make a film, but we're only going to give you 500,000. Go, and just like limit him and see what he does.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
That would be a good experiment, and I can remember like Lucas saying this years ago, but it never really happened that I'm aware of. I mean, for me, after he like made the prequel trilogy, do you remember hearing this as well? That like he was just gonna do some low budget independent stuff. Like whatever happened to that? That was kind of exciting. That prospect of him just doing stuff, you know, really low budget, kind of experimental.
He was just making it for himself or something. It wasn't going to be seen by anyone or something. I don't know if.
Yeah, I don't know if he did it or not. I guess if he's making it for himself, we'd never know if he did it or not.
Yeah. What if it's terrible though? It's just him in the back garden with Jar Jar Binks doll or something, going you know. So it's yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? That, you know, the more money and the more kind of everything's in your arsenal to use, then it's kind of, well, where do you go from that? If you've got everything at your hands, where do you start, you know? But, you know, I mean, I suppose we can't go back. Progress is progress in a way. So what, you know, it's just, I think that's why I'll just remain watching. You know, I'm still going to watch modern films as well, but I think my favourite films will always be from the 70s, 80s. You know.
Oh, I'm right with you there.
Yeah. I mean, did you see Mad Max, the new Mad Max film?
Oh yeah, I saw that not long after it was on Blu-ray. Yep.
That impressed me, that film did, because that looked like there was some actual risk to that film, how it was made and stuff. Did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I never was too big of a fan of the franchise very much, so I thought it was definitely really cool, and I know that a lot of people were really kind of really it was received well, and people were saying good things at the time. So when I finally saw it on Blu-ray, I was like, oh, okay, I understand why it was so that was met with such enthusiasm, because yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a clunky film. Talk about the first Mad Max. You know, that's a clunky film.
Yeah, for me, I never got into the Mad Max / Road Warrior films, which is interesting because they came out right, that same thing, 70s, 80s. You'd think they'd be right up my alley, but I never really connected with them.
Yeah, there's some. I've never been a massive fan, but there's something in there that, just that post-apocalyptic desert land, and I mean, it's a bit of a fantasy that happening. I don't know if you've ever had that dream, just driving around looking for gasoline.
Well, I think that might be happening sooner than you think. So, congrats.
Yeah, I do like this story of George Miller, because he was a doctor. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know anything about him.
The director was a doctor in Australia, and it was always been a dream to make a film. And he just dropped everything, got enough money, like, I'm going to make my film now. So I like that. And I don't think he really knew what he was doing. He just went for it. So it's some passion in there,
Yeah, that's really cool.
I don't think he had a massive budget, and you can see it in the first Mad Max, yeah, I mean, I think the best director for that, quintessential kind of low budget DIY filmmaker, is John Carpenter.
You think he would have done a good Mad Max?
No, I just mean, if you're looking for a director who just goes out and makes his own movies with kind of what's available to him.
Oh, I see. Have you seen? I hope you've seen Dark Star. Have you seen Dark Star, like his college? Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh, I would recommend Dark Star. It's like his college project.
I'm aware of it. Isn't it got like a bouncy ball in space or something?
Yeah, a beach ball alien. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it good?
I grew up with Dark Star. I think it's really. I mean, it's not amazing, but I think it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Assault on Precinct 13?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you seen Assault on Precinct 13?
Oh yeah. I got the Blu-ray of that, the Scream Factory one, not long ago. That's pretty fun.
That's a good film. Yeah. Again, a little bit clunky around the edges, but that's kind of why you like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
honestly, that bit where they're all getting, shot at by, sniper rifles or whatever that are have silencers on, that's really kind of cool, even and kind of epic even by today's standards. Just all those things in the police station getting shot up, and that's fun.
yeah, absolutely. And uh, I was shocked at the little girl with the ice cream scene. That was quite shocking.
Yeah, apparently the reason they were able to get away with that little girl in the ice cream scene is they submitted a version to MPAA where they cut that or cut it out or something, and then
Oh,
so then it was passed by MPAA, and then the one they actually had printed for the theaters was the one without the cut for the MPAA. That was funny.
yeah. Wow.
That's the way to
So
get around it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we've gone so far. I mean, we could call this video Empire Strikes Back, and other stuff or whatever.
Probably.
But I remember Terminator, the last scene of that, I think they'd run out of budget or something. Technically, they weren't supposed to be shooting on that road in Mexico, or the last scene of Terminator.
Oh, okay.
I think, yeah, I don't know if they had a little kid assisting them or something, but James Cameron said, "Oh, we were doing this for his school project." So the policeman was like, "Oh, okay then," So again, that's how they got around that one, something like that.
Yeah, pretty much all you got to say is school project, and you're
Yeah.
golden.
I might try and burgle a house and just say it was a school project.
That might, yeah, that might be a good idea, or maybe make off with some petrol and say it's a school project.
That's it, yeah. I identify as a robber or something. I don't know.
That'd be another good one.
Yeah. But yeah, just getting back to Empire. Again, it was like, have you seen some of the deleted scenes? There was a bit where the what's the is it a Wampa, the abominable snowman thing at the start?
Yeah, I can't say I'm enough of a fan to know exactly what it's called.
But there was a scene cut out, and it's on YouTube. You can just kind of see like the rough, I don't know what you call it, dailies of it. And I don't know if you've seen it, where it kind of breaks into the God damn it, to the base that they're staying in Hoth. Have you seen that deleted scene?
It doesn't ring a bell. It's possible I haven't.
But there's this, it's a deleted scene where it breaks in. It's breaking down walls, going. Roar! And I was like, oh, thank God they got rid of that. Do you know what's weird? I'll tell you something now. I have a bizarre dream that I'm watching Star Wars, and I watch it, and it's a completely alternative cut of Empire, and I'm just like, oh no! And it's such a bizarre thing I have, like an alternative take on Empire, and then I wake up and it's all right.
So your worst nightmare is that the version you know and love of Empire never existed.
Yeah. Hey, that could be a good idea for a film, actually. Like, all your favourite films are now, like, so Jaws is now just a CGI shark. Or, I don't know.
Well, yeah, they've been re-edited to make them, politically correct, and all improved visual effects and improved sexual representation, racial representation. Yeah, so now Quint is now a black female.
yeah. And Brody is a bisexual.
Asian.
Yeah. And the shark is non-conforming, non-binary.
It identifies as a dolphin or octopus, yeah.
Yeah. So, man, crazy. But Yeah, it does amaze me though that Empire came out in 1980 and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I'd
You know,
wholeheartedly agree. As we said earlier, I think you really could. If no one, if some teenager, try to find a teenager that, well, I'm sure it's probably doable that, because I think the sequels kind of ruined the franchise for a lot of younger people. So if you were to find a young person, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and show them Empire, like I say, I think they'd be really surprised that it came out in 1980.
yeah, it's fantastic, especially the last kind of half an hour of it when they're in Cloud City and Luke and Vader are fighting. It's masterfully shot and lit. Just even the sound of the what's these compressor belts coming down to Free's hand, like all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, those exact. I know exactly what sounds you're talking about. Yep.
Even the sounds in Star Wars are recognizable. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was a big staple of the original trilogy was how great, not only the visuals but the sound was as well, and unique.
yeah, it really was. I mean, the thing with Star Wars, it was a group of really skilled, talented people all coming together to produce a high quality product, especially with Empire. Don't get me wrong, New Hope's great, but you get what I mean with Empire? I mean, how often do you get that? Like, you go to the cinema and they've really delivered on, on every level. The music, the characters, the way it's shot, the sound. It just hits every note for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a lost art, but part of me wonders how much of it is due to seeing these things at a young age as well. But I've always thought that in regards to you know I always thought it's partly movies getting worse and partly us getting older. Well, how would you feel about that?
Um, no, it can't be that. Everyone else is wrong, surely. It's all these young people. I hear what you're saying on a serious note, but I watch movies way before my time and admire them. Do you know what I mean? I listen to music way before my time, and I can appreciate it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't go back to that. And go, I'm not listening to that. It's dated, or I'm not watching. I don't know. I'm not watching Psycho because it's in black and white. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. It just depends how much appreciation you've got for things, I guess. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, you go way back further than me with movies, don't you? You watch movies from the 30s and 40s, don't you?
Oh yeah, and
And
for a while there when I was a teenager, I was even into like silent films and stuff, not so much now, but
well,
yeah, I mean I love yeah, stuff all the way back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, yeah.
and I think sometimes it's down to the individual. If they're a film buff, more than likely they're going to go back and have more of an appreciation. If they're just someone who's not particularly into films, they probably would have that opinion of, the shot looks fake or, you know. So I don't know really. Um, Probably uh, you are what you saw as a kid, but I don't think my music now or when I was a kid was the best. I go back to 60s or 70s. You know what I mean? So good question now. Um, but what I will say is all these new films are just trying to cash in on all the classics anyway. So it's not like they're completely fresh and new and that was old. all they're trying to do is recreate the old anyway and package it in the new box, you know?
Well, that's very true. A lot of the movies that come out these days are doing that.
Yeah. Star Wars, it's a product that's, you know, a few more years we'll be 50 years old, you know? And it's still the biggest thing. Indiana Jones, we've got a new one coming out. Jurassic Park's getting on for 30 years old now. So, what is this generation's kind of new thing, which is their own, which isn't just a thing of the old? I mean, all the Marvel stuff is from the old, isn't it? You know, that's going back to the 50s, 60s. Spider-Man and X-Men and all that. So, what is their new thing? Is it maybe Harry Potter, I guess? Transformers is from the 80s. So,
Yeah, I guess Harry Potter, like you say, would have been a big one for but it's not even really the generation now anymore. It's a generation couple,
that's true.
people growing up in the early. I mean, that started 20 years ago now. I mean, it's
Yeah. So, what is this generation's thing? If you know what I mean, which is they could call their own.
I guess just 30-second videos online of people wearing pink hair
Yeah.
and just doing some stupid impression, and that's it, I guess.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I think is the most. They're not the best films ever, but concept-wise, I think that's kind of touched a nerve. Have you seen any of the Purge movies?
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to actually mention the Purge franchise when we were trying to think of something for this generation. I haven't seen any of them.
I actually recommend them. It's a good concept, and there's a lot of ideas going on within them. I don't think any of them are executed brilliantly, but yeah, I like them. I feel like they would have fit kind of 70s sleazy movies. You know what I mean? I feel like that was a good idea for a film.
All right, very cool.
Yeah, I'd recommend them. Yeah, it's kind of like a concept. You know what the concept is, don't you?
What do you? Oh, of the movies? Yeah, I'm familiar with the premise of them. Yeah.
So that within that, there's a lot to play around with. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Each film kind of does that. So yeah, it's kind of like I mean, it's like kind of Final Destination. The premise, there's a lot to play around with, that kind of thing, you know. Or yeah, so. But that's the only. I mean, Paranormal Activity.
Oh my God!
You're not a fan?
Oh no, that's probably my most one of my most loathed franchises.
Right, well, that's fair enough. So, did you like Blair Witch Project?
No, that's another one that just pissed me off when it came out.
Okay. No, I get it. No, I've heard a lot of people say that. I've always found the Blair Witch Project creepy to me. I don't know, there's something creepy about it. Because there's always like, I don't know if you grow up, I don't know if everyone's got those, there's the creepy woods down the village, like, don't go through there at night and all that. And I just think it tapped into that a bit, that kind of, there's nothing really there, but it's all kind of in your head, kind of like the old myth of, like there was a story of, we've got a park near us called Rufford Park, and it's got lakes and everything, and there's like an old ancient story of a woman who fell in the lake, and she like walks the woods at night. It's obviously complete bullshit, but as a kid, it's, you know what I mean, that kind of imagination thing. So I think that's why Blair Witch resonated with me a bit. Like, I always found it creepy, but yeah.
Well, yeah, you would have been like 9 or something when Blair Witch came out, so that's understandable.
Yeah. I mean, it claims to be the first found footage, but like you had like Oh, freaking hell! Is it Italian? Cannibal Holocaust. Have you seen that?
Have I seen what? What'd you say?
Uh, Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't seen that one.
Well, that's from the, I think, like late 70s or early 80s, and some of that's supposed to be found footage. So I suppose it was done before. But yeah, I've got a problem with that film. It's kind of well made and it's got atmosphere, but they actually hurt animals while filming it.
Yeah.
And that's where I draw the line. It's like, no. You know what I mean? I don't feel right watching that, you know?
Exactly. I'm the same way. Like a lot of the Italian horror movies and stuff, there's this like Italian shark movie, Tintorera Tiger Shark or something like that, where they're just cutting sharks or, big fish in half. And yeah, Italian movies don't care about animals.
No. I mean, Mr. Spielberg blowing up sharks at the end of Jaws. I mean, that shark was a good actor, I tell you.
Yep.
But no, I don't think there's any need to actually harm anyone or anything for the sake of a film, you know.
I think we're in agreement there.
I mean, I'm not against actors getting a little bit hurt through stunts and stuff, but to actually physically, purposely cause them harm, you know what I mean? It's like, no, it's not good. But anyway, that's another topic. But yeah, I mean, yeah, someone pointed something funny out. The original cut of A New Hope, there's a werewolf in the cantina.
Oh, that's right. They got rid of that, didn't they?
Yeah, I just find that hilarious. Like, oh, there's a werewolf in Star Wars. Yeah. I mean,
I wonder why the hell they got rid of that. Was it too scary or something?
now that's the origin story I want. If they're going to do anything Disney, the werewolf from the cantina.
Yeah, okay, werewolf, a Star Wars story.
Yeah. What could you call it? A Tatooine werewolf on Hoth or something.
Yeah, there you go.
I was trying to do an American Werewolf parody.
Oh, you were? Oh, I see what the title. I see. Okay.
A Tatooine werewolf. No, where was it? Mos Eisley. A Mos Eisley werewolf in on the Death Star or something. I don't know.
Well, no, you'd have to say the werewolf came from somewhere else. So a Kashyyyk werewolf in, Tatooine.
Yeah. Like it. Yeah. But, just getting back to saying how quotable Star Wars is, at least to be just in my local town, there was I'll not name the place, but there's a rough town nearby where I used to live. And on the internet, someone put a Facebook post up and saying, I'll just call it ... And then someone would put, you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Or something. It was funny, you know what I mean? So it's just forever quoted in everyday life.
Wow, that's a good description for that place.
Yeah. Yeah. Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? That always comes up. I've had that one down the pub a lot. So, especially, but as like I say, my friend, he doesn't like you. That one. Go up and tap my friends on the shoulder. Go up and say that. That was always funny.
Yeah, there was some funny infantile lines in episode 4 that was funny. I remember having fun with that crap as a kid. I'm like, he doesn't like you.
Yeah.
I don't like you either. It's like, okay. I guess you don't need an IQ test to get in here.
Yeah.
You better watch yourself.
I have a death sentence on 5 systems. There you go. There's another one for Disney. I want to see what their origin story.
Yep.
Let's just see all the sleazebags of Star Wars. That's what we want.
Yeah, apparently they're done with, or at least for now, I guess they're done making movies and they're doing the Disney Plus stuff. So,
Have you seen the Obi-Wan series?
no, I just as soon not support Disney Plus, so I don't have a means to see it.
No, that's understandable. To be honest, though, I don't need to see Obi-Wan's story in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Because there's no his first real kind of interaction with Luke is in A New Hope. Really, there's not like you're going to see Luke training as a youngster or anything, or you know what I mean. It's like what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't. Luckily, I'm getting on in years where I'm not baited by any of the Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus enough to, I've never cared enough to actually sign up to watch that crap, so.
Yeah. I mean, if you had an idea for a spin-off or some kind of prequel or origin, would there be anything, if it wasn't Disney doing it or something, would there be anything you'd like to see?
Well, honestly, it'd be interesting to get your take on this. I don't even know if you saw it or not, but I thought Rogue One was pretty good, a Star Wars story.
Love Rogue One.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Great. That's the only good thing I think Disney's done.
With Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That blew me away after, because I think that was the second thing they made after Force Awakens.
That's right. I mean, I don't want to say an argument, but someone said something really cheap to me and it really rubbed me the wrong way. He said, "You don't like Force Awakens because it's a female lead. You just can't get over it." I'm like, that is just so beyond stupid what you've just said. Because I love Rogue One, and that's a female lead.
Yeah.
I love Aliens and Aliens. I love Terminator. I love Silence of the Lambs. So don't throw that card at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's what happened with these new Star Wars films. Like anyone who didn't like him was, a bigot or a, chauvinist pig because it's a woman star. It's like, no, we just want good stories. It's unbelievable,
Yeah, I hear you there.
There was a lot of that going on at that time, and it still is really. And I don't know.
He's just getting depressed thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, though, Star Wars to me was never a franchise that needed to be more inclusive or do you know what I mean? It was like it was fine already. A strong female character, Leia. Not that you even need strong anything. You just need strong. You know what I mean? You just need good characters. We had Lando, who was a black. If you really want to go into detail, he was black. We'd already ticked the boxes before we even thought about it.
Yeah, and back then, no one was saying anything about Leia or Lando being man or being woman or colored or any of this horse shit. It's really a shame where the world's gone to.
Yeah, I mean, I hope this isn't getting too kind of political, and I don't want to get anything removed for you, but it is a shame that we're kind of going backwards. Because I just think if someone's right for the role, they're right for the role, and if they happen to be black or gay or whatever, but now it's like we're honing in on all of that rather than are they even right for the role? Does that make sense?
Well, it doesn't make sense to do it, but what you're trying to say makes sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but
appreciate it.
Okay. yeah. Have you favorite Star Wars character out of the original 3 movies?
I guess it's I'm probably Han Solo, I would say, just because Luke has such a kind of a character arc of the first 3 films. Yeah, I'd probably say Han Solo.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to say Han, but I think really it's Luke's my favorite, just because of that story arc, you know. But,
yeah. I mean, if I were to, actually sit here and kind of scrutinize the character of Luke, it kind of it isn't so. For me, the first 2 films, the character isn't that amazing. It's only like when you get to the 3rd film that the character starts to become admirable.
yeah, but I like it kind of enhances the first 2. That he's gone from a whiny brat to this stoic, wise, kind of more calculated, peaceful kind of man. You know what I mean? Which makes the series even more worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, rather than him just showing up from day one as the character that he'd end up being. Yeah, I hear you.
What, like Rey?
Right. She when we're introduced to her, she's at the top of everything she can ever achieve, and she's got no higher to go. So what's the point?
Exactly. It's. I mean, that is just screenwriting 101. You don't usually do that. Unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando or something, but then that's when you get cheese, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I loved Commando.
Yeah. At least that's it seems self-aware, But yeah, I think part of me wants to be Han Solo and good with the ladies and all that, but really I'm a whiny brat like Luke. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
No, I identified with Luke when I was a kid, because I had blonde hair as well a bit, and I don't know, he was very boyish in the first film, like farm boy, and then kind of like bratty. Well, he wasn't a boy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, whereas Han Solo was an adult, really, So, but yeah, I think it's Luke's journey is, it's great. Would you say he's the best in Return of the Jedi then?
Oh yeah, I definitely prefer the character of Luke in Return of the Jedi the most, because as we've said, he's the version of himself that he was always meant to be. He's in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually think Mark Hamill gets enough credit, because I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for, actually. I don't think he's a sensational actor or anything, but I think he does perfectly well, especially Return of the Jedi. I think he carries that film, really. Yeah. Thoughts on that? Do you think Mark Hamill's slightly underappreciated?
Yeah, I think so. It's too bad that his big claim to fame seems to be Luke Skywalker and pretty much nothing else. That's kind of a bummer when Harrison Ford went on to have a huge career.
Yeah, I mean, he's a steady actor, isn't he, Mark Hamill? That's what I'd say. He's got the Joker voice. He's turned into more of a voice actor, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I remember hearing something, I might have mentioned it to you before, but there was tension on set between Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford by the time of Return of the Jedi, because Harrison Ford had become bigger than any of the cast members, really, through Indiana Jones and all that, and I don't think Mark Hamill was, which is kind of understandable. He's like, I'm the star of Star Wars, why aren't I getting these roles, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be forever a mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark Hamill's a much more vocal actor than Harrison Ford, but Harrison Ford's got a subtlety about him, you know. He's got that grin, you know what I mean? I get it in a way. I think Harrison Ford is more of a movie star. I get it, but you just think Mark Hamill would have more breaks being in the biggest franchise ever. There you go.
Yeah, it's, as I said, a mystery. It will forever be a mystery.
Yeah. When I say Harrison Ford, what pops into your head? Which character? Is it Han Solo? Is it Indiana Jones? Is it Blade Runner?
Yeah, probably Indiana Jones.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like there's not many characters who got two really iconic. Sorry, actors who've got two really iconic characters. Yeah. Stallone, Rocky, and Rambo. I can't think of any others though.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. But yeah, Empire's top of the pile for me, followed by New Hope, Return of the Jedi, then Rogue One, and then that's it. That's as far as I go. There's nothing else. Yeah. Oh, sorry, that was my Bluetooth speaker switched on then. Switch that off. Yeah, that's the four films for me.
Well, very cool.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on Empire?
Probably not. Not really. So, just a little. I can't remember that word you used before. Yeah, somber. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of maybe a little too somber for me to be it, or for it to be one of my favorites of the original trilogy. But that's okay. With I guess with drama, you can also get somberishness. But yeah, it's possible seeing it at a young age just traumatized me too much for it to be my favorite of the original trilogy. But hey, that's okay. I mean, obviously I still appreciate it for what it is and still enjoy it for what it has to offer.
No, man, that's perfectly fine. But I was going to say one more thing. Interestingly enough, just Star Wars mainly shot in England, which is interesting. Pinewood Studios.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I wonder, do we know why?
Well, a lot of films shot at the Pinewood, but I think Star Wars, I think American, but it's actually shot in England, like a lot of it, which is interesting. Because I tend to just gravitate more towards American stuff, but one of my favourite films was shot, 4 hours away from where I lived. You know what I mean?
As a fan of Empire Strikes Back, how you feel about that? Is that cool to have it be 4 hours away?
Cool. It is cool, but you get so lost in Star Wars. It's not often when I'm watching it I think, oh, that was shot there. That was, you know what I mean? I'm just absorbed in it. But
that makes sense. Yeah.
I think Indiana Jones. Pinewood Studios has done loads actually. Indiana Jones, I think, shot some of the stuff in there, some of the sets and stuff.
Yeah, that might be very well true. Yeah.
Aliens. That's another one. Pinewood Studios. You just think these American films, these American filmmakers would be shot, I don't know, in LA or as a lot of them are, but they seem to, when it comes to we go into fantasy films or these kind of like otherworldly sets. It seems to be Pinewood Studios, which is interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if any British films film in California. Ha 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 ha.
It's probably not. Yeah. I suppose Star Wars always has had that slightly American-British crossover. You've got Alec Guinness, then you've got the American stars, and then you've got Kenny Baker, who's British, and Peter Cushing, British. So it's kind of like a joint American-British production, really.
Yeah, that's true, and for whatever reason, so many of the evil Empire characters seem to have the old British accent.
Because we're all evil, that's why.
Yeah, well, I wasn't gonna say it outright, but you're right.
But Obi-Wan, what accent has he got in the film? I don't think he's put on an American accent, is it? I think Alec Guinness, it's just... I'm not sure, actually.
You don't know what accent he's trying to do?
Could you tell me? I'm not sure. I'm just so... it's like Donald Pleasance in Halloween. Is he doing, Donald Pleasance with British?
Yeah, it's almost, maybe, yeah, come to think of it, maybe they are trying to do American accents.
Interesting enough, Donald Pleasance came from a place called Worksop, which was 15 minutes away from where I used to live, so pretty interesting.
Oh, damn, that's cool.
Obviously, he'd kind of long gone before I even knew who he was, kind of thing, but yeah, he just came from a little kind of nowhere town in England. But yeah, it's yeah, good old allies, the British and American, even in films.
Well, goody golly gosh.
The best interpretation of England is in Independence Day, where they get a telegram. It's from the Americans. Well, it's about bloody time.
What do they want to do?
How do English people sound? Well, like chimney sweeps, mate, old governor, like that. Yeah. I find that really funny, though. You know what I mean? That's funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about bloody time. But then they go to... is it Russia? There's like the whole of Russian army is 3 guys in a bunker.
Yeah, I can't say I remember, but then, of course, they got a shot of Africa, and they got just pelts covering their privates and spears.
That's what Africa's like, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I told you I'm actually staying in a hotel at the moment because I'm back up country visiting family, and there's I was having breakfast in the little bar area, and there was some fellas, I think they're from London or wherever, and they were on a golfing holiday, but they were very, very posh and talked very like almost like a stereotype, and it was quite amusing to hear. And so it kind of does exist, that kind of quintessential Britishness, I guess, but depends where you are in the country.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how many frickin' variations of the accent there are.
There's loads. See, I don't know if it's like, say it's like an American or an Australian hears us and we all sound the same. Is it like that for you, or...?
No. I can tell the different ones. Are you asking if they sound, if all the different British accents sound the same to me?
Yeah, because I hope you don't find this funny. More or less American, it's hard for me to maybe Texas or something. I could tell they're a bit more south, but if you said you were from New York, I wouldn't know any different. You know what I mean? I'm not too up on it. Is there a lot of variation in the American accent?
Probably mostly, yeah, southern, like you say, and East Coast. I would say if you get too far north, some people in Minnesota have more of a Canadian accent.
Right.
I like to think I don't. Minnesota, if you've seen Fargo, has that stereotypical kind of Canadian, thing, which
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's mostly East Coast, Jersey kind of accent or
New Jersey, like that.
Yeah.
Or Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, like Matthew Haggerty, yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. But in England, there's so many different accents. Because I suppose like British quintessential is London, like London. I'm from London. Southerner. We'll talk a bit like that, a bit Cockney. Whereas I'm more north, so I've got I don't know. I can't do an impression of myself. So.
Well, gosh, that's weird. Why you can't impression yourself?
But then there's the Scousers, Liverpool, from Liverpool. There's a lot of different variations. But it's like anywhere, though, everyone's got jokes about different parts of the different counties of England. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, God, because we call people from Liverpool Scousers, London's are Cockneys, and I'm trying. Geordies are from Newcastle, so there's a lot of kind of, jokes flying around about people from different. It's kind of like, if you want to be really sensitive, it's like inner racism of the same race,
Just the old divide and conquer.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So we've gone off on a lot of different tangents. But I think that's good, though. Why not?
Yeah, what the hell? There's no rules.
Yeah. But did you have any other toys growing up? Just I haven't got too much longer, but just to finish off, did you have many Star Wars toys?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this earlier when we started. I didn't have a whole lot of them, but my cousin, like they were more well off financially. Oh my God, my cousin! It seemed like when you walked in, he was older than I was, so it's like he was he had moved out, but his he had probably moved out in the late '80s, but his room, they still left his room the same for a while when I was like 11 and 12. So I'd go in his room and they let me borrow some of the Star Wars toys. I swear it seemed like he had one of frickin' everything.
Wow.
I can remember, I know I wish I would have taken a picture of it or whatever, but I can remember borrowing on two separate occasions, one of the AT-ATs, from Empire and the original from the 80s, and it had this really cool, you can probably look it up on YouTube, but it had this cool thing where you reach, and it was really big. It was like 2 feet, maybe, God, it seems like it was 2 feet tall. It was really big, and you reach inside, and there was a little kind of an operating stick where you could like move the head back and forth. If you push the stick in, it'd kind of tilt the head up and it'd go down.
Cool.
There was a button on the thing where the battery operated. If you push the button on this little lever, the little guns on the underneath would kind of move and light up and make sounds. So
that's pretty cool. That seems quite involved for a kid's toy, actually.
Yeah, in the early '80s. Yeah, exactly.
Could have been an original one.
Yeah, it would have been probably from 1980 or 81.
That's pretty cool. Because I had the special edition toys, so the more modernized versions. But my friend round the corner had two older brothers who were born in the early 80s, so they had original Star Wars toys, which we used to play with and stuff. So that was cool. So I kind of got best of both. But they didn't used to look after them well. They'd just be in the shed, covered in cobwebs, and you know what I mean. Just like a lot of things, you don't realize what you've got until years later. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, while we're sitting here talking, it occurs to me that I did borrow a Star Wars item that I never ended up returning, a really small kind of die-cast Millennium Falcon, which,
Oh wow.
yeah, it's probably from the first, I would imagine it's from, episode 4 or 5. I should look at a year I'm sure the year's on the bottom of it.
Might be worth some money.
Yeah, I know. It just occurred to me right now. Yeah, it's like it seems to me like it's die cast on the top and maybe plastic on the bottom with three landing gear that can be flipped down.
Wow. See, I've still got Mega Drive game from someone lent us in like 1996, Echo the Dolphin. I still look at that, and every time I see it, I go, "Oh, still haven't returned." You know what I mean? I can't imagine he's that bothered now.
Yeah, where's my Echo the Dolphin?
Yeah, and you know what amazes me? Like some of these Mega Drive games, any questions or anything, some of them got like you used to get little manual with these old Mega Drive games, Sega, and so it's like a contact number. Any questions? Ring this. Any problems? Like, I wonder if there's someone still operating. Like, ring up some old geezer. Hello, you know. No one's rang me for 30 years. Yeah.
Finally, a call. I've been almost giving up on it.
Yeah. They've actually, like, a lot of these old games have come kind of trendy again, you know. Like, I went for a phase of collecting a lot of old ones, so I got Empire Strikes Back on SNES, Super Nintendo, and Return of the Jedi. I bet you've played on those games in your time.
Oh, you're talking about Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah, they put out like a series of, well, they probably put out more than 3, but from what I can remember, they put out like one for each film, like Star Wars and Empire.
Yeah, they were really, I mean, I played them only a couple of years ago, and they're just like side-scrolling games. They're really good.
Yeah, those were huge when they were out. I never had any, but I played them it's other people had them, and I played them.
But like I was saying, they've become, they're quite expensive now. You find them in these like retro shops, and they're like, I don't know, £45 to buy. Some of them go into the hundreds. You know, some of these games are becoming quite rare now. You know.
Yeah, from what I understand, PlayStation 1 games are going up as well.
Yeah, I used to love PlayStation 1. I don't know if did you go through that phase?
Yeah, I got into PlayStation pretty late, pretty much like in '99. I didn't get a PlayStation till late, like '99. So, but yeah, I have quite a few of fun PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah, good times. I miss the days when you just put the disc in and it'd say play. You know what I mean? And then maybe it was just one that said options set up. But now it's like, am I online? Am I playing with everyone in the world? I've got to insert the second disc. I've got to download this. I've got to buy this. I can't be doing modern gaming. It's just not for me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, pretty much Xbox 360 is where I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, it's just too much. Literally causes me anxiety, that kind of thing. Because you don't know, like, if you're buying something or if this is the actual game. Is this the demo? Is this the... Do you know what I mean? It's just too much for me.
No, it's completely understandable. I mean, we come from a cartridge or a disc, and that's it, and there you go.
Yeah. That's it. GoldenEye days, that's it. That's the pinnacle. Nintendo 64.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean, I'll give it to Star Wars. It's amazing though. It still generates, computer games, and it's the number one game that comes out, isn't it? It's something that's getting on for 50 years old, and it's still popular.
Yeah,
could have been handled better through the years, but
that makes you wonder what they're gonna do for the 50th anniversary.
you think if it was, here's a question, if it was just left, there was never the prequels were made, the last Star Wars film ever made was Return of the Jedi, just those 3 films, do you think it would still be as popular, Star Wars, as a brand?
No, probably not. I think them kind of, keeping it alive by doing the prequels and then the sequels, I think
Yeah.
that helped keep it more popular.
Yeah, I think it'd be... I think it'd be still really popular. I think it'd be like The Godfather 1, 2, and 3, the Star Wars trilogy, but it'd be a little bit more... I don't know. Interesting.
Well, I kind of compare it to the Jaws franchise. I mean, no one who's under the age of who knows what, 30 or, I mean, they don't know what the hell Jaws is.
Well, you'd be surprised. I don't know. I've met some young people who dig it, and I guess it's just down to the parents, I guess, if they've introduced it to them. But
yeah, that's true.
But it does rub me the wrong way when they go, "I'm not watching that. It's old and dated." It really does. It does rub me. It rubs me the wrong way. That's it. Yeah, I think I've said everything I want to say about Empire. So, like I say, in my rankings of, I don't know if I had a top 10, it's definitely at the top with Jaws, and then maybe The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jurassic Park. What else would I say? That's just a few off the top of my head.
Okay, well, we've got some potential ideas for a future discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Star Wars as far as, I've never been massively into Lord of the Rings. I never got on with Harry Potter. But Star Wars was always, that was my cup of tea, If I'm going fantasy, it's Star Wars.
Yeah, that's very understandable. Are you the one who never got into Star Trek?
No, I never got into Star Trek. Just, I don't know. It seemed to be on in our house, but it just never grabbed me.
All right, well, that's fair.
What about yourself? Are you a Trekkie?
Well, I wouldn't call myself a Trekkie, but I grew up with Star Trek. I enjoy the movies more than the TV show.
I'm thinking like the original Shatner movies.
Yeah, right. The original Shatner movies from 79 into whatever 89.
Yeah. Yeah, it was always a thing that was kind of like, it's a shame like things get, you're either a Trekkie or a Star Wars, you're either a Beatles or the Rolling Stones, you're either do you know what I mean? We seem to do that as human beings, compare things. It's just because it's got the word star in it, you know what I mean? It's completely different things really, aren't they? So.
Yeah, I couldn't say that I like one more than the other. Star Wars and Star Trek balanced out pretty equally for me.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I mean, Star Wars movies were a big part of my life growing up as well. So
yeah. Well, obviously Star Wars all the way for me, but I've never really gave Star Trek much of a chance, to be honest. So, yeah, it's just it's strange because it's been in my house loads. It's kind of like it always used to come on around. When we were having dinner, it'd be on TV, like old repeats of it, but it just kind of washed over me, really. I never paid much attention to it, I guess.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's just either something grabs you or it doesn't, so. Yeah. Yeah, but it's been great talking to you, Nate. And I'll see you on the next video.
All right. Thank you very much for doing another discussion. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Thanks, Nate. Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening to another fan discussion with Will Powell from the UK. I think I'll probably kind of start trying to mention this if I can remember moving forward. If anyone else listening would like to do a fan discussion recording, just let me know on any of the comments. We can do it for people who are international on Skype, people that are in North America. If you don't have Skype, we can always do it on the old telephono Rooney, like normal telephone, I would imagine. I don't think long distance charges necessarily apply within the North America these days. I could be wrong, but yeah, thanks a lot for listening to another one of these, and we'll catch you on the next one.